Welcome, everybody, to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Town of Eastham Planning Board on September 17th, 2025 at 5 p.m. This meeting will be video recorded and broadcast over local channel 8 and through the town's website at www.eastham-ma.gov. I need to ask, is anybody in the audience doing any recording on their own? Apparently not. Okay, good. Okay, tonight's agenda. We have a continuation from July 16th, 2025 for case number PB 2025-08 for hearing for property at 435 Shurtleff Road, as shown on map 7, parcel 142A, Michael A. Nargi and Kerri L. Picard, owners and applicants, seek site plan approval residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaw section 7.4.4 residential lot intensity and section 10.3 site plan approval residential to demolish an existing dwelling and detached accessory garage / guest house and construct a new dwelling on a lot containing 20,000 square feet or more where the site coverage exceeds 3,000 square feet. Good evening.
I'm just handing a planting restoration plan
Good.
that I thought might be of some assistance for the board, and then once I've done this, I'll step back and introduce myself.
Okay. One presumes this is a result of Conservation Commission attendance?
Yes, this is. For the record, my name is Ben Thunder, and I'm here on behalf of Mike Nargi and Kerri Picard, who owns property 435 Shurtleff. And with me is Ken Seifert, who's our architect for the project, and Sean Riley, you can see online, who's our engineer with Ty Bond, and I may have additional team members on it if they show up. I can't publicly on the computer. The board may recall we were in front of you previously, none of the project. But at the time we knew that we weren't going to be asking for a vote because the project was subject to a conservation review. And we can't ask for a vote because we've got some level of finality with conservation. We have not received our final conservation because our hearing is from the 23rd. But we had a sort of a cold vote commitment that was first putting that it would be the project, and we plan to incorporate those changes. So what we've done since we were in front of you last time is structures really haven't changed much. But to address some concerns for the Conservation Commission, we pulled the structure further away from the coastal bank, a little bit closer to the road, not much, just a matter of a few feet. We've removed the swimming pool from the water side, relocated it on the street side of the property. We've removed patios on the north and west side and replaced those with a deck, which that was pulled back to allow for additional vegetative buffering on the water side that you can see on the vegetative plan I've given you. We've reduced the size of the north existing parking area, so that more of that northerly part of the property is being restored back into a natural coastal dune. So essentially that house is essentially the same. And the reason it's the same is because if we were to try to locate it in differently, it would begin to move into the slopes on the property. So we're hopeful with these changes. And also we're clearly showing turning areas on the site. You can see on the south parking area where you can come into the garage and then you can back and turn and come back out to the road. So we're clearly all the traffic activity is off the road, as is in the northerly parking area as well. You can pull in, you can turn and come back out to the road. So those are essentially the changes. We're hopeful that with these changes, the board will find that the project meets your standards for approval under residential site plan review. I've read the staff memo. I think it's very well prepared, and I'm happy to address scale issues in neighborhood existing neighborhood conditions that the board wants. But with that, I'd like to leave it for the board session. Okay.
Yes. Board members, you recall we did look at this previously, and it was a consensus at the last meeting that we needed input from conservation before we went any further. It seems like the applicant has done that. I personally don't have a problem if we were proceed tonight to a vote to making it subject to Conservation Board approval. It seems like it's likely or more than likely to happen. But let's get through the site plan issues. We did have some at the last hearing, and I will start with Brian.
I just have one question. In your estimation, and this is a subjective question, does this property, does the house fit in with, because that's a nice growth. There's a series of, do you think it fits in with the other homes?
Okay, so there's really two components to that. I agree with the question, right? You know, one is architecturally does it fit in, you know, the board, I think tries to stay away from architectural decisions, but architecturally it's of a gambrel style, it's a nice style, in fact, it has varied roof lines, it has a certain degree of complexity which allows it to minimize scale massing. These neighborhoods essentially consist of two types of houses, those that have been built, rebuilt, those that haven't been rebuilt. But I think this is clearly consistent with the nature of the waterfront homes, not only along Shurtleff, but along a lot of these roads that say we deal with other states. So I think it's very consistent with that. When we look at it strictly as numbers basis, your staff has done, I think, a wonderful job in looking at that as well. We provided, you know, assessors cards for roughly about 20 properties in the neighborhood. This property is a little bit larger than the average percentage size. Coming in at, decade prepared it, but I was looking at it a minute ago. It's coming in at 7.82% lot coverage, 7.82% site coverage, which in itself is not a large number, but it's a relatively large lot at 43,485 square feet. The average in the neighborhood is about 6%, 6.9%, so this is 7.82. Sorry, I didn't know. So it's a little bit larger than the average size, but from an overall site coverage standpoint, it's not the largest house in the neighborhood. You have at 365 Shurtleff, you have a 266 square foot house at 12.7%. At 345 Shurtleff, you have a house that's 4,972 square feet of site coverage at 15.8%. So it's certainly in keeping. I think what's problematic with this application, and it's problematic with, and it's strange because when I look at these in retrospect, when I look at the projects that have provided the most challenges, it's not necessarily size, and it's not design, it's visibility. Mm-hmm. Visibility is the unknown variable that always, if you and this particular site, because when you look at this site, it has sort of a high area on the left side, it drops down on the right side. We're removing all of the structures that are in the floodplain, and which is one of your concerns, does it avoid impact on floodplains? We're removing all the structures in the floodplain, and we're concentrating all the building on the highest part of the lot, which raises that specter of visibility. But we really can't develop this lot without the house being visible from the road or from the neighborhood.
Right. And what you're doing is you're removing the kind of the block house. Would you say that it's I'm trying to envision what it would look like, and I would say that it's some kind of gentrification.
Yes.
But it's not obscene or over.
My own opinion about this house is A, I think it's an attractive house. B, I think it's a highly visible house, which obviously raises the concerns of the neighborhood, or maybe some people in the neighborhood. But it also does some things that we like. It removes one whole side of the lot from development and removes any visual impact on that side of the lot. So it's concentrating the development in one side. There's no question that it's visible. There's no question that it's going to change the character of the neighborhood in the short run. I mean, in the long run, people get used to what's there. But I think if the question from the member is it in keeping with the neighborhood? I think the answer is yes. But again, you know, that's my opinion, and I get paid to have that opinion as well. So,
Subject.
yeah, I know. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Dave?
I really don't have too many questions. I'm glad to see that there's going to be more land conserved and so forth. And I was just thinking that if you come down Shurtleff, you're going to have a really nice view when you drive down there, looking out over the bay.
Right.
But you're not gonna that building in the way.
And it moves it away from the public parking lot,
Yeah.
you know, so I think the people that are going to the beach are gonna feel a little less encroached as well, so.
That's all.
Steve?
I drove the road south to north toward the beach, and gentrification was the word that was used. I noticed that the structures were not insignificant
No.
along that road. And until you got to the very end where this house is proposed to be built, and you've lost that. So I mean, I think it'll fit within the character of the neighborhood. I can't make a judgment call on the sight lines and the obstruction of view and that kind of thing, but aside from being a size that fits the neighborhood, I have no problem with that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, so anyway, appreciate all the comments of my colleagues. I do have a question, and I did ask about this whole view thing, and I understand our purview and where it starts and where it stops. But there is a letter from an abutter about the view, and some houses are affected by the view and some it's improved actually.
Right.
Right. But the one question that they raised that I'm asking if there was any consideration given to is there's 763 square feet of an unfinished attic that is not included in the site coverage calculation.
Mhm.
But is there any consideration given to modifying that perhaps? Or was that, I guess, was that considered at all?
I'd have to ask Kendra about, if you have an answer, Kendra, this is,
So a lot of that.
Kendra Seifert, our architect.
Here, make sure your microphone's on.
Oh, no. Kendra Seifert from McPhee Associates.
Hi.
Hi. So a lot of that attic space is in the eaves at the level of the second floor.
Oh,
So it's where the eave lines come down and create space that's eave space and can be used. You know, we'll need to have access for it for, fire safety. So there'll be doors to this space, but it'll be more like storage space. So it's not really height wise. There's
okay,
not a lot of eave space or attic space in the height.
okay.
It's on the
That's
second
helpful.
level.
I
Yeah.
didn't know if we were raising the height of the structure to accommodate that.
No.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Great.
Enough. That's it.
Okay. I too do not have a problem with this application. We do wrestle with views. We don't have a view ordinance. It's very important. So a neighbor is going to be affected by this, perhaps one or two, maybe three. But there's nothing in the regulation that requires an applicant to preserve a neighbor's view. It's just not there. So for us to try to regulate without a code and without a rule and without a law, we can't, in my opinion. So I appreciate, and this comes up in all the applications. I appreciate the concerns of the neighbors, but candidly, there's not much we can do about it. With respect to the way this site has been proposed to be developed, I think it's thoughtful. I think they have studied the issues and they have mitigated it as best as they can, considering what they have to work with, which is an unusual lot. The only question I have is it necessary to keep the lower parking lot?
Yes.
Okay,
And here's why. The upper parking lot is very small.
Oh.
You know, and you need a certain amount for turning and getting back out again. The other reason is that Mike and Kerri have a boat where they have to store in their off season. So this allows them to, for example, if they're entertaining or the kids are visiting, they can actually get their cars off the street with that upper parking lot. What they did do to address concerns of one member of the Conservation Commission, and I think there might have been some general concerns of this board, if I remember correctly. They did reduce the size of it by about 25 to 30% and turn that back into a restoration area to try to minimize that a little bit. But I think, Mr. Cobham, they do need the parking.
okay. And I do agree that coming north on Shurtleff, it is going to be a much better view than with the building that's there now. I mean, there's no question about that. Okay, anybody in the audience want to speak on this application? Is there anybody online that would like to speak on this application? Okay. Board members, as I stated previously, I think the applicant has at a sufficient level of detail to warrant consideration of site plan approval. And with that said, I think the first thing we want to do is we want to do the findings of fact. So and some of these we are going to state that it's unusual, and some of these we're going to state that it necessarily does or does not conform to the best way we'd like it to see it, but that's the way the application is. So let's go through it. The property, number one, the property is located at 435 Shurtleff Road in Residential District A. Number two, the applicant has applied for site plan approval, residential pursuant to Eastham zoning bylaw sections 7.4.4, residential lot intensity, and section 10.3 site plan approval residential to demolish an existing dwelling and attached accessory garage / guest house and construct a new dwelling on a lot containing 20,000 square feet or more, where the site coverage exceeds 3,000 square feet. Number three, the SPA-R hearing was opened by the Eastham Planning Board on July 16th, 2025, and continued to August 20th, 2025. On August 20th, the case was continued as requested by the applicant to September 17th, 2025. The proposed demolition requires Historic Commission approval. Approval was granted at a public hearing on August 12th, 2025. And number five, the project requires approval from the Conservation Commission. The case is continued until September 23rd, 2025. Number six, the proposed project does not negatively impact existing native vegetation and soil or grade changes. The lot is situated in a coastal dune and includes an established cedar grove and other native vegetation which will be retained. The present location of the cottage and bocce ball court is proposed for ecological restoration through the use of Cape Cod meadow mix cedar trees, black cherry trees, bayberry, beach plum, and Carolina rose, native shrubs, as well as native grasses and flowering plants supplied in the list on the restoration landscaping plan. This plan exceeds the minimal requirements of 50% native plantings. The plan also calls for revegetation of areas of disturbance. Hardscaping includes replacing low stone walls, new deck area, pervious paver walkways, and a new pea stone driveway, as well as rebuilt beach stairs at the dune consisting of granite and timber construction. This project requires approval from the Conservation Commission. The commission hearing has been continued to September 23rd, 2025. Number seven, the project does relate harmoniously to the terrain use of existing and proposed buildings in the neighborhood. Currently, the lot contains two structures. The proposal reduces this to one structure similar in use to other properties in the neighborhood. Number eight, the proposed project does not relate harmoniously to the scale and proportions of existing and proposed buildings in the neighborhood. The proposed dwelling is larger than the average of properties within a 300-foot radius neighborhood. The perpendicular position of the attached garage in relation to main dwelling areas reduces the visibility massing of the structure as seen from the road. The use of dormers and varied ridge alignment also helps to reduce the massing of the building. Number nine, the characteristics of the neighborhood are preserved by the plan as presented. Plans call for a custom home with a combination of gambrel and salt box roof forms, both common forms in the neighborhood and throughout Eastham more generally. Proposed materials consisting of traditional cedar shingles, asphalt roofing, white trim with black doors and windows are compatible with the neighborhood. Number 10. The proposed project does not avoid impacts on steep slopes, floodplains, hilltop dunes, scenic views, and wetlands. The landscaping of the site includes significant restoration efforts along the slope and hilltop. The lot is situated on a coastal dune and includes an established cedar grove to be retained. The present location of the cottage and bocce ball court is proposed for ecological restoration. The plan also calls for revegetation of areas of disturbance. The proposed dwelling is likely to negatively impact the scenic view of abutters in the immediate area. Letters in opposition from the property owners of 355 and 380. I have Shurtleff. Oh, it is Plateau? Okay. 355 and 380 Plateau Avenue on the corner of Shurtleff and south of 435 Shurtleff raised concerns about the loss of scenic views from their properties due to the scale of the proposed building. Number 11. The proposed project does have existing, unique, and significant environmental resources. The lot is situated on a coastal dune, and a portion of the property is located within the velocity flood zone. The proposal to build a new beach access stairs on the coastal dune requires approval from the Conservation Commission and will require compliance with coastal construction methods of the Massachusetts State Building Code. The proposed ecological restoration plan will benefit the environmental resources on the site. Number 12, the proposed site does maximize the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movements within the site in relation to existing ways. The existing site conditions include 3 driveway entrances to serve the existing structures. The proposal shows the upper entrance combined into a single curb and the lower driveway to remain with a paved apron added to reduce the erosion along the road. Both driveways have adequate sight lines for vehicles entering and exiting the property. Okay, are we still at 2 letters of opposition?
Yes.
Okay. And number 13, will the Eastham Planning Board receive 2 letters in opposition to the project as proposed?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. When it goes to the Conservation Commission, if there's more than a de minimis change, it would require us to see it again.
Yes, it would.
Correct?
And I have.
Does that need to be added as a finding of fact?
No, that's in the conditions.
I
in the
added
conditions?
one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry.
11 in the conditions, so we're good. Okay.
Thank you.
So, any discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve the findings of facts as read for case number PB 2025-08?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Brian, Dave,
Aye.
Stephen,
Aye.
Michelle, chair votes aye. Okay. Now we're going on. And the applicant has asked us to consider approving this tonight. He is aware of the fact that it could come back if conservation does change it, but that's his wish. Okay. Is there a motion to approve site plan approval residential for case number PB 2025-08, subject to the standard conditions of 1 through 10, I think. They're all standard, aren't they? Yeah, they're all standard. I'm going to add a number 11, which says, and it may be in there, but I just like to call it out. This approval, number 11 would be, this approval is conditioned on the applicant's owner to receive approval from the Eastham Conservation Commission. If said approval contains changes to the plan that are not deemed de minimis, then the applicant shall return to the planning board for reapproval. Now, anybody, do you have a problem with that, the way I read it?
No, I would ask that be
deemed de minimis by the building inspector. I think that, I think that's, he's the person who determines.
Well, I
whether or
didn't
not
say
this-
who was gonna do it. Do you want me to say the building inspector?
Well, as long as we understand that. I mean, I don't think, as long as I don't have to come back before this board for a hearing on whether it's de minimis.
No,
No.
Okay, thank you.
okay.
No, I think the language.
All right. Is there a motion to approve? Okay, subject to its read.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Brian?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Stephen?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Thank you all.
You're up.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay. Now we have another case. We're finally getting applications for our new codes. Okay, this is not a public hearing. This is an informal review. Do I have to read any notice for informal review?
You do not.
Nope. Okay, Mr. Zender, I believe you're
Yeah,
representing the
this will be the briefest presentation in the history of this board, I hope.
Yes, we love.
I don't get paid by the word, so. So with me, is Louis Black, who's the owner of the property, and Barry Cook, who is his agent and representative here on the Cape. And, Louis has purchased the property that's just south of the, Brick House Restaurant. There's a surf shop, little surf shop structure. And Louis would like to build an antique bookstore, which I think is a wonderful use for the town. And it's actually a use that is in the permitted by right section of uses for this zoning district. So, in looking at the designs and the size of the designs, this falls into what we would call a major site plan review, which is above a minor site plan review, which is administrative review, and which is below, a site plans review special permit. So, we've already done a preliminary set of designs, for the board to look at. We've received some feedback from Ms. O'Rourke, Mr. Lag, primarily, which is that there's one aspect of the plan that doesn't meet your model code, which is that it's showing parking spaces on the street side of the property, which we're happy to redesign and move to another section of the property. We understand that we're going to have to drill down further into the technical requirements of your new code, which are gonna require us to work with our architect to make sure that, for example, our transparency ratios are correct and our roof line distances and percentages are correct. One of the things that's a little unusual about this property, and if you go out there, you'll see this, is that it appears to be part of the same property as the Brick House Restaurant, and there are some cross easements back and forth for access through to the back, as well as the Brick House has a parking easement that's on this property that you'll see on the site plan. So we have to work with those constraints. And we are going to be filing an application for a major site plan review as soon as we can get these architectural details coming down. But we just want to kind of get a sense of how you look at this project. Are there any concerns that you have? Any constructive comments that you want to make, or negative comments that you want to make that we can just throw into the mix as we work with our architect to prepare
Okay.
a final application to your board?
You'll have
I think it's a
the,
great project.
you'll have the benefit of my sketching again.
I always do.
You can take this with you. What it basically shows
Yep.
is we are eliminating the parking here, bringing the curbing around here so that we meet the required setback from Route 6.
Yep.
Where you can replace those 3 spaces is where you're taking out this structure. So it's very easy. I looked at the easement agreement. It doesn't specifically say which spaces or anything like that to the restaurant. So you certainly can just take them from here and put them there and not violate your easement agreement. So that you can have.
Thank you, Scott.
And the second item is, yeah, sure. The second item is you need additional windows areas. The code, we are finally into architectural a little bit. And so I'm going to give you this. And board members, you haven't seen it, but basically, this is just personal. I didn't like the plainness look of the building. And I thought if they're going to have to, you're going to have to increase the windows by about additionally the same number of square foot as what you have.
Right.
So if you made it bigger, could you put dormers over the windows and make it a more attractive facade? And board members, you want to see it?
Yeah,
Okay, fine. Again, it's informal, so. And that's all I had. I think it's a good project for the town. And I think that it would not be too expensive for the owner to consider, he's gonna have to put the larger windows in anyways, that's a requirement of the code. And so therefore, I don't think putting a dormer on is going to be financially prohibitive for you to do that and make it look better from Route 6. We're primarily concerned about the visual from Route 6. That's our main concern. And I think it's great that we could actually have a bookstore in Eastham. So personally, I think it's a good idea. Any board members have anything else?
I
they'd
have a
like to say?
question.
Please.
What's the difference between a retail space and book display?
I don't think there is a difference. Does the code have both those uses late in there?
I'm just reading off of the,
Just a curiosity, I think, not a code.
It's
Yeah.
not a code issue. It's just the rooms.
it's just a personal question.
I don't think there is a difference. I think
Okay.
book display is well, I mean, I guess you could have a book display as part of a museum or part of a cultural exhibit, but I think a book display is part of a retail sale of books.
I would agree, but it was confusing to me to have sections as, reading room, book display, and a retail space.
Well, you're talking about in the plan itself.
Yeah, on the plan.
Yeah, well, that's just, I think Lewis has decided preliminary how we would like to set the space up. I think, you walk in any bookstore, there's going to be a book display of some type, so.
I agree, but just the way it was broken up, I was curious, that's all.
It's like you have a kitchen and a living room as part of a house, so I think it's different areas.
Did Brian have anything?
Good.
Brian, did you have something?
Is there any fencing proposed? Is that, I haven't.
Fencing on the property.
Currently, not that I'm aware of, to the rear,
Right, yeah.
nothing, there is a fence right along the parking, rail fence. Those few spaces, other than that.
Does the board feel like they want to see some fencing in the back?
I think what the advantage of the site plan you're proposing is nothing's happening in the back. And therefore, we might have had more concern, I might have had more concern. There is a residence all the way back, which was probably part of this property at one time.
Well, you actually,
Yeah.
I think you looked at it at one
Yeah.
point on a subdivision plan.
So therefore, as far as I can see, I don't really see the need for fencing because of the considerable length between the proposed building and the rear property line. It's more than enough in my mind.
Well, and conceivably, in the future, there may be a proposal in front of this board to add some particular additional commercial use.
And at that time, we may want a fence.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
And also, we're going to be required to, under your code, to show some public, quasi-public recreational open space back there as
Yep.
well.
Right.
So,
Anything more, Brian?
Nothing.
Okay.
I like the idea you had for the windows.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's within our purview to say
It
you
is.
should do that or
It
not,
is.
but I think it significantly enhances the appearance of the building.
thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, well, great project. And this is, I think, the first one out of the gate that's gonna be from the ground up in our, new form-based code, kind of setting a standard. So I think we need to take that to heart, right? And really, I get the simplicity of the design, but I think looking at the form-based code and the vision for the Northeast Ham, town center, is going to be important in thinking about the aesthetics of this building, because it'll kind of set a standard, and it doesn't mean we need to go, triple the budget for it or anything like that. But it's really the first one out of the gate that isn't taking a pre-existing structure and trying to modify it. It's really taking a pre-existing structure, starting over again for a great use for sure. But, I thought we should kind of take another look, or you all should take another look at the Northeast Ham vision and just see if from and of course Dan's great rendering, and take the two and kind of look at what else we could do to fit that in. Because other people will then take a look at your project and say, well, this was done there. And we always look at anything we decide and do, within the bylaws and such, sets a precedent for what else comes after that. So I think the dormers are important, and I also get the impact of light on rare books, so we need to take that seriously while building, windows that fit the bylaws and such like that. yeah, the community impact, the street side design. And my notes just said should be a little less basic and kind of have a little bit
I
more of
understand.
a,
Yeah, I
You
think
know what
it's
I
come through.
mean?
It's come through, sure.
yeah, and then what is the future? And I get where we are right now, but this is setting a tone for the future for this part of the community. So thank you for that.
It's a good first project for this board because it's relatively simple.
Yeah,
By that, I mean, in terms of
Yeah.
it's a single use, it's not mixed use, it's not multiple structures.
Right.
It doesn't raise significant infrastructure questions or traffic issues. It's minor parking. It also, I think, skirts one of the things that I always think about is, how do you get a variance from any of these requirements if you really have to have one? And this application doesn't beg the need for that request, so we're not coming up against that as well, which is nice.
but the curb appeal and all is going to be important, I think, and some sort of delineation, because you're right, it looks like it's part of the brick house
Right.
property. So
Okay.
anyway, thank you for bringing it to us.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you.
Okay.
Think it's
We
any
will-
comments from staff or no?
No, and it sounds like we've got our attention on the transparency issue. You know, it sounds like you've read the note on the outdoor amenities, so I'll just point that out to the board as well, that, this is a property that will require 20% outdoor amenity space, which really is to say some picnic tables and
Places to
an
read.
area where people can read the books that they've just purchased, and how nice would that be? Maybe with their brick house lunch at the table. But certainly we're here to help and digest the very prescriptive form-based code as needed.
Great,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
thanks.
Nice to see you all.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Okay, we have minutes from August 20th, 2024, 5, obviously. I note that Brian Early's name is spelled correctly.
Yeah, we checked that. Thank you, Ben.
Unless you want to change it to LIE or something, I don't know.
Be your quiet.
Into auto check. I did.
Okay. Any corrections needed?
None here.
Anybody else? If not, is there a motion to approve the
So
minutes as written? So moves. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all set. Now, we've had light agendas. And I have thought that it would be certainly beneficial to me, and I hope to the other board members, that if we had a presentation given by the Strategic Planning Committee, so they're not operating in, as far as we're concerned, in the dark and then just presenting the final form. I would appreciate if they would come to the meeting and give us update in terms of what they're thinking, so that we can give them our ideas if there's any they want to put into their work. And Michelle happens to be on that committee. So we looked at next month because it's a light agenda next
Yep.
month. And you will see if you can do that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, we go in front of the select board on Monday for them to review it, but then next month we can review it here as well.
Good, because, I think our input, this is, in my opinion, a really terrific board. And I think we have great ideas, not only as a group, but as individuals. And I think that we should be able to give some input into these documents that are coming down. Yes, they're run through the planning board ultimately. And at town meeting, they think the planning board might have done it. But in reality, this committee has been doing it. And I appreciate what they're doing. And I think that we should get it out to the public.
I'll add to that. So the strategic planning committee will be presenting to the select board. The zoning task force will also be presenting and working with the select board on finalizing their next 6 months plus of work. You remember Pat Canavan does sit on the zoning task force.
Good.
So I think that would be another one, either if Pat can liaise for us and catch us up
Yeah.
once the select board has had that, or, encourage you to watch Monday's meeting.
Yeah.
To get a sense, because they are really working on those zoning bylaws. And so as we're working with things, when we find something that doesn't work, we have a task force who will do the work of rewriting it. So that
Very
would be
good.
really helpful information.
Great.
And
I
we
think
do,
that's great.
we've had one case filed for October, another site plan approval residential.
Okay,
Okay, great.
sounds like a plan.
All right, good job, Dan.
All right, anybody else have anything else? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll see you next month.
Dan.
You think they're still, you think they're next door? Still?
Probably.
All right,
Well, maybe.
I'll go over.
Thank
Okay.
First time I showed up, there was a whole bunch of people testifying and there was arguing somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought